Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Melanie. This is Adventures in Hostessville, and welcome to episode 6 of the Vintage Magazine Project, figuring out history through old magazines. It is February, so we are doing the 1926 Physical Culture. Ba-da-bum, ba-dum-bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So the article that I want to look at today is one that caught a lot of your eyes here on the front cover, which is The Secret to Holding a Husband's Love. Now, I don't actually have a husband, which means this will either be really easy for me or really very, very hard. But I will point out it doesn't say my husband's love, it just says a husband's love. Get color into your personality as well as your skin by exercise. No indolent woman can ever hope to be attractive. Indolent means lazy. I just looked it up. And there are these 9 different exercises in here, which I will be attempting now. If you told me a year ago when we went into shutdown that I'd be doing fitness videos, I'd have said you were crazy. Okay, so first off, welcome to my home gym, which is just the little area inside the front door. When I unrolled my yoga mat to do this, there were cobwebs on it, so I have been not exercising a lot. So we'll see how this goes, if I can keep up with a 1926 Physical Culturist or not. But the first one seems fairly easy. I just sit with my legs out, put my arms up high, I'm not against the wall, and then I just bend over, oh gosh, and then I do that for a while. Okay. So the thing is, this article really, speaking of 1926 Physical Culturists, like it's not bad. Sort of the point they're making of how this would help you win your husband's love is that they're saying that the kind of woman that was maybe a thing in the Victorian era, like this really sort of wispy, weak, pale, I need a man to take care of me kind of woman, is not the thing anymore. And they say a man doesn't want you to be that. He wants you to have your own thoughts and your own feelings and your own strength. So you should exercise so that you can prepare your body and mind to be your own whole person, and also so that you can look good for him. Exercise number 2, leg forward, arms up, and then the arms back down, and then the arms up, and then the arms down, and then I switch legs. All right, so the thing is, like I said, it's kind of egalitarian. This is one of the few magazines that I've come across that is actually intended for both genders, or all genders, but both genders, because it's 1926. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking up. Okay. And the thing that they say about men, too, is sort of the same as they say for women, is you're not going to get a lady if you are not healthy in your body and in your mind. A lot of the stuff that you can buy to be a man and please your ladies these days, there's a lot of devices for impotence out there at this point, and a whole lot of them are made with radium. Any husbands loving me yet? Well, this'll do it, because for this one, I bend over like this, and then I swing my arms up as high as I can, which is significantly not as high as the girl in the picture. So radium is not really new in the 1920s. They have already, by this point in the 20s, figured out that it can be used for treating cancer. But of course the public is like, oh, it's good for cancer, I should probably take it for everything. And it starts getting put into all of these things. There's this one called the New Ray Gland Tablet. And this tablet is for men, and it's for, well, it's kind of coded because they can't say it's for sex or they'll get an obscenity charge. But they, for vigor and vitality, supreme manhood, that sort of thing. And this tablet is got radium in it, and it's also got bits of boar testicle to make you virile. There's a version for women as well. It's called the Vagitone. I couldn't figure out what was in that one. But the thing is, the New Ray Gland Tablet is not supposed to be used on its own. It is supposed to be used in conjunction with the Soothal Radium Bougie, which is a suppository. Yep, you put it up your back end, or there's a really skinny one that goes up the front. It's for your urethra. Okay, so now I just do deep knee bends. I couldn't figure out how to get my whole body in this, but I'm supposed to alternate between regular ones with my heels on the ground and then going all the way down with my heels up. So the FDA does already exist by this point in the 1920s, the Pure Food and Drug Act, and with it, the FDA have come out in 1906. But the problem with radium is that it's not a food and it's not a drug. So the FDA is kind of like, our hands are tied. It's this natural thing, so we're not allowed to regulate it. Now, back in the 20s, just like today, some of the heavy lifting is really being done by the FTC, because where they can kind of get you is in false advertising. Just like now, people are really good at having like savvy marketing that doesn't actually say anything. Like one of the ads for radium says that it ionizes your endocrine system. What? But the public is like, oh, thank goodness, I've been looking for something to ionize my endocrine system. So that is the world we're at when Dr. H.J.A. Bailey comes onto the scene. So Dr. H.J.A. Bailey is this guy who is actually pretty smart. I think he was sort of a child genius, and he got into Harvard, and he went to Harvard for a couple of years, but then he ran out of money and he had to drop out. No shame in that. The shame comes in that he just told people that he got his degree there, and then he told everybody that he got his doctorate from the University of Vienna. You know, it's like my college degree girlfriend in Canada. So he's running off, and he's doing all this fraud. One of his first companies involves selling a bunch of cars to people, which is fine, except for that he doesn't have a factory, and he doesn't make any cars. He also then comes out with this aphrodisiac called Lass I Go. It's definitely marketed at husbands and wives, because much like the secrets of a husband's love thing, like we've hit this point where we can talk about sex and stuff like that a little bit, but you sure better say that it's for married couples, because otherwise obscenity charge and you'll get shut down, right? It's like suggesting that premarital sex is okay into the slammer. Oh, radium suppositories? Carry on. So Bailey starts making this aphrodisiac. That one actually does get shut down though, because although it does not in fact have radium in it, it does have strychnine. And the USDA jumps in and they're like, ooh, that one we can come down on because that is a poison, we can get it out. But it's like whack-a-mole with these guys in the 20s, and they make this and they make that and they just keep coming back. And then he also makes, oh, I am going to say this wrong. It is, I practiced it, let me get it right. He makes the radioendocrinator. I think, the radioendocrinator, something like that. But it's this belt, so it's got this elastic, and you can clamp it anywhere, and then it's got these little pockets, and you can put in these radium-infused pads. And the idea is that you were supposed to just put it over whatever needs help, like you can strap it over your thyroid or over your pituitary gland, and for your male vim and vigor, right, for your sexual needs, you were supposed to put it underneath your gonads, their word, not mine, and sleep with it like that all night. And they make this big deal about how radioactive this is, and you have to keep it in this lead-lined chest, and you have to, like, all of the metal pieces on it have to be coated in gold because any other metal would dissolve. And they do some looking at it later, and they're like, it's not actually that radioactive. And that's kind of what saved people. If you're wondering how everybody didn't die, it's because radium was actually really expensive, and most of the stuff that said it had radium in it either didn't at all or had this really, really minute amount. But I forgot I'm also supposed to go up and down. So let me do that a couple of times. Ugh. Okay, so for this one, I'm supposed to just put my feet straight up in the air. There they are, they're straight up. And then I just like move them back and forth a little bit. This is very basic. Most people would be fine at this. I feel like I'm going to roll all the way over onto the floor all of the time because I am supremely unathletic, which is apparently, according to this magazine, why I'm single. Radium-infused water is not the invention of Dr. Bailey. This has been around for a while. There are actually a ton of companies at this point that make this. And usually what they do is they sell you this crock, like this big pottery crock. It's like a drink dispenser that you would have at a party, right? And then or a water in a hotel lobby or something like that. And you'd fill it up with water, and then overnight it gets radioactive and you drink it. Yay! And Bailey has one of those crocks too, but he is like, okay, how can I come up with something that will make even more money than just selling this crock? And he figures out, oh, if I pre-mix single serving shots of this stuff, I can sell it over and over and over. Okay, for this next exercise, I've had to move in the furniture. So I've got this stool that I'm sitting on, and there is a chair in front of me for me to tuck my toes underneath. So Bailey's water product that he's got, that he's gonna sell, it is called Radithor. It comes in this little brown glass bottle with a little cork on the top. They're $1 a pop. You bought them in a case of 30, so that's your month's supply. And so $1 in 1926 money is about $15 now. So it's like $450 for your month of this stuff. And it cost them about $0.25 to make it. So they're just raking in profit. But that's not enough for him. He's like, certainly we can come up with a way to sell more of this. What can we do? And he's like, doctors. If we get doctors to recommend it, it will work. We can't have them prescribe it because then it's a drug and then we're, in with the FDA and everything. But if they just suggest it, and how do we get them to do that? Well, give them a kickback. So doctors got a 17% kickback on this stuff when they recommended it. So one of the doctors that is recommending Radithor to people recommends it to this guy, Eben Byers. And that's the beginning of the end. I do one arm, and then I flip the arms, and then I flip them back, and then I change legs. Yeah. So this guy, Eben Byers, is like Mr. 1920s. He could be out of an F. Scott Fitzgerald novel. He's super rich. He's the son of a steel tycoon. He's from Pittsburgh, and he goes to Yale, and he's super athletic, and he's super good with the ladies. And at one point, he's like the U.S. golf amateur champion. But in 1927, which he's in his 40s at this point, he is on a train coming back from a Yale game. And I get the feeling that this is sort of like a party bus, only on a train. Because it's like this chartered thing, and the train goes and picks up these rich guys and takes them to Yale to watch the game and then brings them back home. And that night, he's in a sleeping berth in this train, and he falls out of it, which is why I assume that it's a party train. But he falls out of it and he hurts his arm. Okay. And he goes to the doctor after a while because it hurts, and when you're rich, you can just go to the doctor, unlike me who would just say, well, I guess I'll just wait for this to get better or fall off. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, what might work really well for that? This Radithor stuff. And so he gives it to him, and he's like, it's great for your arms. It's also just this general tonic. It'll give you pep, it'll give you vigor. And then he takes this stuff, and very shortly afterwards, he's like, my arm feels better. He attributes it all to Radithor, and he starts taking so much of it. And he also sends cases of it to his friends and his business partners and his lady lovers. He's like, get on the train, Jane. It is estimated that between 1927 and 1930, he took approximately 1,400 bottles of this stuff. So Eben Byers is like, I don't feel that great, particularly in my face region. And the doctors are like, it's probably sinusitis. He starts to lose weight. He is starting to lose his teeth. And he calls in some more specialists, and they took a look at it, and they're like, you have radium poisoning, and there's nothing that we can do. Now, the FTC has actually been working on this since 1928, like shortly after Eben Byers started taking this stuff. They've been working on a case against Radithor, but one of the things, again, is like the marketing is so tricky. Like, what did they actually say? It'll improve your vim and vigor. How do you prove that's not true? But one of the things they did come out and say is that it's harmless. And so they said, okay, well, if we can find somebody that it's clearly harmed, then we've got him. By this point, Eben Byers has had to have the entire lower half of his jaw removed. He has like 2 teeth left on the top. He weighs less than 100 pounds, and there are holes developing in his skull. He dies about 3 months later. He has to be buried in a lead-lined casket because his body is extremely radioactive. Like, still to this day, the half-life of radium is like 1,600 years. And they know for sure that one of his lady friends died as well that was taking a lot of it. So they did definitely have a case against Radithor, but that is basically the end of Radium Cures. And this is also the end of my exercise program. I've cut and pasted here, so it probably looks like I didn't work out at all. And frankly, I didn't work out very much. I don't know, if I'm gonna get told, here's how you improve your sex life, I'll choose exercise instead of a radium suppository. Radio.